When Trump moved into the White House on January 20th, he became the first president to move in and hang up his own portrait. Meanwhile, they're having security problems at the White House. A woman was arrested the other day for trying to scale the fence for a second time in a week. The Secret Service said, "We wish you were living here too, Mrs. Clinton, but you've got to stop doing this." After decades in Washington, I'd become a little jaded. I had seen it all and knew how situations always played out. No more. Now I feel like a cub reporter covering a president for the first time. Just look at last week and the extraordinary feud between Mr. Trump and Republican leaders. We have never seen anything like this in my memory, this kind of open warfare between top officials and the sitting president of their own party, and not on matters of policy like Vietnam or Watergate so much as fitness for office and matters of basic behavior. There are a couple of points to be made here. First, over the next year, from now till the 2018 midterm election, I believe that we are witnessing a battle for the soul of the Republican Party. The establishment, folks like Mitch McConnell and organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, will fight hard to maintain their control over the party. But there's another way to look at the last few weeks, and that is that the grand old party is turning into the party of Trump right before our eyes. True, both Corker and Flake went after the president, but only after bowing to political reality that they could not win re-election next year as anti-Trump Republicans, and so they both announced their retirement. And it's noteworthy, while there are lots of other Republicans in Congress who are just as dismayed in private about the president's behavior, they have been noticeably silent in public. The base of the Republican Party is solidly aligned behind Trump policies, if not always the president's antics, and trying to run while alienating that Trump base is a losing proposition. These have been the most interesting, most news-making 9 months of my career in Washington, but we may just be getting started. I got to play a special role in the last election as the moderator of the third and final presidential debate. The whole thing is run by something called the Commission on Presidential Debates, a blue-ribbon bipartisan panel of former officials. And last September, I got a call from Janet Brown, who is the executive director of the debate commission. She formally invited me to moderate the final presidential debate. I was thrilled, but I took the responsibility very seriously. This is part of the process by which we choose our president over the next 4 years. It's a civics lesson that plays out in real time in our case and was watched by 80 million Americans. That's the third biggest audience in the history of presidential debates. But something interesting happened at the end of the conversation. Janet Brown said to me, "Thank you for accepting." My initial reaction was, "Thank me." I thought I had just won a golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. But pretty quickly, I understood what she meant. The criticism that rained down on the moderators of the first 3 debates, 2 presidential, 1 vice presidential, was brutal. I think the race became so polarized, it spilled over into perceptions of how the media was covering it. And now I had signed up for the third and final presidential debate, just as the focus on the race got white hot. No wonder Janet Brown said thank you. There were 6 weeks between the announcement and when I would be moderating the final debate on October 19th. I really couldn't start preparing because who knew how things were going to change during those 6 weeks, what issues were going to come up, what controversies would arise. Finally, after the second presidential debate on October 9th, I could get to work, and this is where the good part of batting cleanup came in. Because after all the talk about Access Hollywood tapes and former overweight beauty queens, I figured voters were hungry for some real issues, and there still had been in 2 presidential debates, that's 3 hours, 180 minutes, there still had been no discussion of the Supreme Court and gun rights and abortion and immigration and debt and entitlement. So I decided I was going to spend the first 45 minutes talking about the real issues that affect our lives before I asked a single question about groping or pay-to-play or emails. I want to make one final point about fair and balanced, the Fox motto, and this was the real eye-opener to me. I thought, coming from a traditional broadcast network, ABC, that we were fair and balanced. But since moving to Fox, I've come to see things a little bit differently. I think there are some unexamined assumptions in the mainstream media, some ideas that are accepted as givens. There is a widely shared sense that liberal positions on such issues as gun control and the environment, same-sex marriage and abortion, that those liberal positions are the conventional wisdom. More conservative positions, opinions, are seen as just that, conservative opinions. There's a widespread belief in the media that government programs always solve problems, that taxes on corporations and the wealthy are good ways to cut deficits and don't put a drag on the economy. I'm not saying those ideas are right or wrong. I'm saying they are accepted by most of the mainstream media as the baseline without examination. Well, at Fox News, we say everything gets examined, liberal ideas and conservative. No one gets a free pass. What could be healthier? But you know, tough as the criticism all of us in the media may get, I can't help but feel that in some ways these controversies are good for us. Over the years, the media has gotten a little too self-righteous. We're busy criticizing presidents and popes, but feel we're above criticism. We're immediately, always suspicious of every public official. Well, criticism can teach journalists some humility. That is never a very pleasant lesson, but it sure can be a good one. I feel proud and privileged to be a reporter. It's been a ticket for me to be an eyewitness to history, and it's an honor to bring the news to the American people. Someone is always going to be mad at us, and sometimes we will make mistakes, but the Founding Fathers knew what they were doing when they put freedom of the press in the Constitution. Our job is to live up to that responsibility. Thank you all so much for listening.